Hey there, folks. How you doing? It's me again. I was here to do another little, well, not so little, because I'm gonna meander around as one does, and bring some more, I guess, hope and usefulness. How you can utilize your agency and the power you have as people. I know the last few videos have been kind of like, whoa, you really listen to the information that I'm giving you. They kind of seem downer, and and they are, they're on fire, absolutely. But they are information and things that you need to keep in your mind. So when you hear something or you, read something, bubbly again, um, uh, that you stop and take a minute and you see the frame of what is you see what you're seeing, and you don't jump, that fear-based clickbait. That legacy media is fully on the train with, I see a few places are starting to pull back on the whole Biden thing a little bit, little bit, which is another thing I want to bring up again. They keep going on. Is he qualified? Is he fit? Can he handle it? Can he do the job? What they're not saying is, oh, he has been doing the job. Look at what this administration has accomplished in 3.5 years and what they walked into. Again, don't have amnesia, people. Yeah, you think about that? When we were locked in our house, there was nothing in stores. People were dying by the thousands every day, and 3.5 years later, well, here we are. So that's what he turned around, and they're asking, oh, is he qualified? Can he do it? He's been doing it. You wonder if he can continue? Well, he's doing it. Suits me just fine. Are you asking the other guy? Is he qualified? Is he fit? Look at those 4 years. Let's just take COVID out of it. You can go look it up. Again, it's easy to find. Right before the pandemic hit, our economy was on the downward slide. We would have hit recession from all of the nonsense BJT pulled. You go look about bond yields. I know, really, in the weed stuff, if you're not into economics. And I'm, full disclosure, I'm not economically savvy. I know a little bit of stuff just from what I read or I hear. Not my area. But you pick things up. And those were in a bad place, and that was about ready to send stuff flying down the trail of recession because of all the trade war with China, with Trump, and cost the farmers billions, and then we had to spend billions more to bail them out. And then he, in the middle of COVID, he tried to, do a deal. It was just a whole nightmare. He created a whole mess, the tax cut for billionaires. And I'll say this to you folks, when they talk about tax cuts, make them be specific and commit to who those tax cuts are for. When it sounds vague or it's non-committal, those tax cuts ain't for you. They're for the rich. And those rich could have 2% tax straight across the board, and they'd still be with their greedy, grubby hands wanting one. They'd always be begging for more tax cuts. No, they've had their time. They've had it for 40 years since Reagan. It's time they pay their fair share. If you can build a rocket to go to space on your own dime, you can pay your fair share of taxes. The rest of us are paying for you. And I'm tired of paying corporate welfare and subsidies to rich companies. I don't know about y'all. We shouldn't subsidize oil and gas. No. That is another thing to push for. Stop the subsidies. They got money. They don't need ours. Put that towards the people. I ain't putting it towards the people. They're destroying the environment, and we're paying for it. We're destroying the environment on the backs of the people. Look at it that way. Refrain. Flip the script. That's what I'm here for today. Flip the script. Call their bluff. We saw what we got with the other one. Is he qualified? Is he capable? No. Biden's qualified. He's proven himself. He should not have to continue to prove himself and be held to a higher level. They did the same thing with Kamala Harris. And the misogyny and the racism. Oh, come on now. It's dripping. And it's all that dog whistle stuff, too. It's right there. Is she qualified? Is she capable? She can't do this. She is everywhere. She is literally everywhere doing everything. I will be honest, I have followed politics for a very long time, decades. And in all of the administrations I've seen in my life, and I go back in history, the last couple of years I've delved in more to American history. And I will be honest, I have never seen a vice president do as much as her. The media is not, they're not showing it. The minute, good example, everybody heard about the Tennessee 3. She was there, minute one. That happened when they booted them. She goes to the G7, she was in Southeast Asia at the conferences, she was holding conferences in Africa. She is everywhere all the time. She's crisscrossing the country all the time. She is doing the work. Is she capable? Can she handle it? She's in on everything with him. They're working as partners. But you know how media likes to, again, old, white, mediocre men. Don't think a woman capable. Well, when you look back through history, there's been a hell of a lot of capable women that just don't get enough credit. And they don't want the credit. We're not here for the accolades, women. If you are, what's your agenda? But there's a whole lot of capable women. And maybe it's time, at some point, we need a capable woman. Other countries have done it, and they do just fine. This whole patriarchy, misogyny, nonsense. If you're a man, get it together. You got a mother. Think about it. Have some respect. Maybe give it a shot. Maybe you will be surprised. Yes, women can lead. But they have to lead from under the boot heel of a man's foot on their neck. And they still get it done. So I don't know how the whole elevation of holding her to a higher standard than Pence or Quayle, who couldn't spell potato. You see where I'm coming from here. We need to bring this out every single day. Biden has proven himself. He has said he's staying in. He's the quarterback. We got to back his play. That's it. So, how do we go about doing this? We need to take the power back. The media and their constant noise. They're part of the problem. We feel like, we have enough problems dealing with one crisis, two crises, and we got 70 in a day. And just people zone out. And I understand that. So that's why it's up to us, folks. Again, we are the rescue team. You want something different? You gotta make it happen. So, call their bluff. All of them. The other side, the media, call their bluff. You ever notice something about bullies? Oh, they'll bully, they'll bully, they'll bully. You stand up to them? A lot of times, you see the coward real quick. Call their bluff. I'm not talking about in a physical or violent or anything like that way. I'm talking about creatively. Call their bluff. Flip the script. If they're going to come out and they're going to spout all this garbage and this nonsense, I mean, take it seriously, because they've shown you who they are. Christo-fascists. They've shown you. Again, Project 2025. Go back to my other videos. Pillar 4. But that one just sticks with me. It makes me think of 1930s Germany. That's what I picture in my mind when I read that. That's the immediate thing that came to my mind. As I explained before, I was fed on those things because it was closer to my generation. And I grew up on that. And the stories and the people. With my pap being a vet, he had lots of vet friends. And so I'm very familiar with that. And that's the first thing I pictured. So we see who they are. I just posted on my personal page, and you can go watch it on YouTube, but with the fifth column tonight, he did a thing about how the GOP plank is trying to reframe in their wording about reproductive rights. They're trying to be tricky. Don't let them fool you. They ain't changing nothing. Changing some words is not changing the outcome. Don't let them fool you. Don't take the bait. Because now they see people are pushing back. Like they did with, Project 2025 is a plan. No, it isn't. No, it's not. You can even take it from the metadata from the websites. No, it's not. It's their baby. It's their baby. Let them own it. Flip the script, people. Call their bluff. That's the problem. We've kind of got lulled. These ghouls have snuck their way into the levers of power behind our back. Some deliberately, like what was it? North or South Carolina? They were one shy of a supermajority, and when they got elected, they were a Democrat, and then boom, they changed to Republican to get that supermajority. Some lie and do it purposefully, and then switch on you. Others, they sneak in there behind our back because we weren't paying attention. I remember, like I said before, I missed the boring days. Come on and tell you what's going on. That's it. Nothing crazy. But we've been dealing with crazy on such a just constant, non-stop basis for years now. And I think we're just all kind of, I know we're all numb. And I get overly animated because I'm not trying to come across as abrasive or anything like that. I'm trying to grab attention. Because if it's making me that animated, and I'm not one to freak out of the gate. Like I said before, Monday when we all read that decision, that was a freak out moment for everybody. That was a jaw dropper. Like, what? What? They just gave us a king. We don't do kings here. What the heck just happened? And that's what they're counting on, that we're not noticing. And I think more people are engaged and they're aware now. And they see them for what they are. They are ghouls. They are bullies. They are Christo-fascists that want to, wrap their yoke of power and submission and subjugation around our necks. No. Absolutely not. So, we flip the script. And this goes for pushing the politicians. Again, we the people have power. We have agency. Take social social media and use it for a good purpose. Every day, get on your social. You push the Dems. You need to get. They aren't going to get on point themselves. They're cannibalizing themselves in a way. If you think about it, they eat themselves from within. They have this bad habit because this is no justification. It's just an explanation. The umbrella of the Democratic Party is very broad. There's a lot of different viewpoints. I mean, they all come back to the same thing, basically, but there's a lot of different people under that umbrella. And some have more stronger, more passionate views than others. And as we have seen, some are very cowardly and can't have a spine about them. And they want to hedge their bets, and they're just doing it wrong. Like I said, folks, there's already lists. We know there's lists. Wouldn't it be great if somebody could find those and put those out? Kind of like, I was watching the Titus podcast tonight, and Texas Paul was on. He's another good follow, so go hit him up on YouTube on his socials. I've watched him too. He's a very good follow. He brought up something. One of Ted Cruz's campaign people or one of his staffers left a donor list or something like that in a restaurant, and somehow a reporter got a hold of that. Who owns the Republican Party? The billionaire class. That's what Citizens United did. And they published it. So wouldn't it be interesting if maybe there was one outlier in the Project 2025 that just is starting to rub the wrong way, and they knew about these things that aren't out there yet. They said they're not showing their hand. Wouldn't that be interesting if those somehow found their way into the media? I mean, we know the Trump cases are dead, except baby Mershon. He might be playing chess. He might be playing chess. But if I were those judges, I'd be like, let's roll forward. Because you know why? SCOTUS only has the power we give them. Flip the script, people. They have no enforcement mechanism. Think on that. The only enforcement mechanism they have is those states' rights folks, which you know those are also red states who do not. They want to control their people. I live in a bluish state. I don't hear a lot about states' rights here. I know other people in more blue-leaning states don't hear a lot about that because we have more opportunity. The ones screaming states' rights, again, the ones doing the breaking are the ones with the hammers. They're usually the ones screaming, with states' rights, states' rights. They want control. They don't want to represent, they want to rule. And that's the only back they got. States that would enforce whatever they hand down. Hawaii taught us, I think it was over the Bruin case, if I'm not mistaken. Like I said, times and temperatures approximate. But Hawaii said, no, we don't agree with that. We think it's unconstitutional. And they made their own ruling. They went against SCOTUS. Now how that will play out, I don't know. But do you see what I'm saying? They only have the power we give them. And we have sat here since, what is it, Mulberry versus Madison, wasn't it? All those years ago when SCOTUS declared themselves the arbiters of the Constitution. We'll decide. And we let them. Their title has Supreme Court, so we must do that. We've gone along with things for too long. And we followed these norms, and we followed these rules. And we've just seen how quickly those can be just destroyed. Because that's all the far right, extreme, and the GOP are all about. And that cult. They're not about creation, they're about destruction. So you flip the script. Quit giving SCOTUS power. If I were those judges, I'd just plow on through. And I think Mershon's playing chess, though. I think that's a surprise. But, Chuckin, go ahead. Do your hearings. Let them sort it out on the back end. Go forth. I mean, we're going to see delay, because that's what a coward does. If he were innocent, he would just get right on that. So, and they didn't deny the charges. Do you think about that, people? Trump has never denied any of the wrongdoing. Oh, he'll come out to the public and say it, but in the court, where the law rules, he has never once denied he's never tried to deny his responsibility. Look at the fraud trial. They didn't throw much of a defense up. He's not saying he has denied responsibility. He didn't deny he crimed, is what I'm saying. He didn't deny January 6th. He just wants immunity from it. He didn't deny they committed fraud. He just wants immunity from it. Think about that. They're not denying they crime. That his organizations, his business, himself personally, he's not denying he stole documents and distributed them to who knows what, which is a national security threat, people. He's not denying he did these things. He's just denying the fact that he wants to be held accountable for it. Is that somebody who's capable of handling the highest office in the land? These are things you need to do on your socials every day. Bring it up. Keep it in the world. Keep it in the loop. SCOTUS. How do we flip that script? Don't give them power. If you're in a state, because if you say, oh, that would be anarchy. No. Anarchy is when they just made rulings. Not just one, but several. Chevron. What was the Schneider? The one where bribes aren't bribes if they're after the fact and they're a gratuity? I mean, they stripped so many things. I mean, even Citizens United back in the day. Corporations are people? Come on. No, they're not. No, they're not. And that's how we have all this money in politics. You need to put this out in the fore every single day on your social. Hold them accountable. Pressure the politicians and the legislators every single day. What you gonna do? SCOTUS only has the power we give them. So if you want to say, oh, that creates anarchy. No. What they have done is anarchy. Again, the only thing holding it together right now is the administration we have. What they did in those decisions was anarchy. They created anarchy. Because now everything's so vague and it's all up to them. They have appointed themselves hand of the king. That is anarchy. And very unconstitutional. They just merged the executive and judicial branches together. There are not 3 separate branches anymore, folks. This stuff needs to be out there. It needs to be talked about. Ideas need to come in on how we can flip the script, call their bluff. This is what needs to happen. And how can we utilize social media in a functional and positive way? This. Bringing up all these points of Project 2025 every day. Go to a section, pick out something, read a little bit, see what you can see, pull it off and say, look, here. SCOTUS. Why should we honor they just tore down the Constitution. Their constitutional ruling just was rendered unconstitutional. Our Constitution was rendered unconstitutional by their ruling, is what I'm trying to get at. So, why should we honor them? They just wrote their own. Alito sitting up there on his high horse. Oh, judicial activism. Pot calling the kettle black. That's what you doing, son? For an ideology. I am not a jurist in any way, shape, or form. I just read the law here and there. But I at least know, as should everyone, that there's a certain way that we've always done things. But even when I read some of those decisions, and it wasn't because of personal bias, it just, okay, here's the law. That's not the law. You just threaded this needle to make it seem like it was. SCOTUS did. For instance, they created immunity out of whole cloth. It is not in our Constitution. But they said, oh, we're going to pretend it's there for our purposes. But reproductive rights and abortion, oh, it's not in there. So it's not constitutional. So make it make sense. We have to push this stuff every day. That's why it's very important to get that information, get that knowledge, and put it out into the world every single day. Early voting will be starting soon, folks. That is why it's very critical that we poke them. They're pushing us, we push back. You don't stand down, you stand up. Yeah, dire times will come. Again, the future's not here yet. We still have the power. And we need to utilize it while we can. The French did it. The UK did it. We can do it. They laid a roadmap, a playbook for us to follow. And then it becomes, okay, when we get in there, maybe we get it. We get the trifecta. We get in there. It's about fixing. Because there's a lot to fix. And that will mean constitutional amendments. I said it's going to be work. But we need to get on board with that. The Constitution is a living document. It is to change. It is to progress. It is not set in amber. Like SCOTUS, we held them up in this high ivory tower. Come down. They need to come down off the cross because somebody needs the wood. I mean, really. But that's what we always did. We had these rules and these norms that we followed, and so much has been destroyed. That wasn't law or statute or regulation. It was all, hey, the handshake deal. We'll get along and we'll do it this way. No, they just threw all that out. And they're not playing by the rule book. And I'm not saying, I know our side's, play by the rule book, play by the rule book. Well, the rule book is gone. You're playing by a book that don't exist no more. You're afraid of who you're going to offend? Oh, stop. Stop. You worried about offending them? People who tried to commit a coup? Who are going to take your rights? Who have lists of people they're going after if they get in? You're worried about offending them? So what? They clutch their pearls. Push them. Push them. They're not as bright as you think. Yeah, like I said, we weren't paying attention and the ghouls slid on in there. And that's why we have to pay attention. We have to be present now. Going forward, we have to be. And just think, if we can pull this off, folks, maybe wouldn't it be nice to go back to when the chaos wasn't such a constant 24/7 thing? Wouldn't that be a lovely, refreshing change? See, there's a light. But you got to walk the path to get through that light. You got to get to it. And that's up to all of us. So, every day, on your socials, bring it all up. Bring up SCOTUS. Bring up court reform. Bring up Project 2025. Bring up ideas of things on how we can fix it. I know Lawrence Tribe did some op-ed. He's okay, but he's got very pundit classy now. And I mean, I get what he's saying in some respects, but there needs to be radical change. And they call us the radicals, but who's trying to shove Christo-fascism on us? That's radical. We've normalized it. No, that's radical. We're just trying to live our lives in peace and freedom and opportunity for ourselves. Christo-fascism, that's radical. No, they're the radical right. And hang that around the GOP's neck every single day. All of them. There ain't no normies left. They're gone. And if they are, they're not in politics. Or they're fringe now. You know. I mean, there's a few randos here and there, but get on your socials. Do it every day. Push the politicians. Push the legislators. Push the media. Push your agenda. Push what you want them to talk about. Get your facts. Don't throw out some nonsense. Get your facts. And throw it at them. Push. Push those buttons. Maybe it'll be like the Wizard of Oz when the witch gets wet. You got the wizard behind the curtain. I'm just saying, folks, we have to do this. We have to push back. So we flip the script. We be creative. You think about these things. There's opportunity there. You know, we can sit back and quit blame and do this, that, and the other. It's done. We need to expand. We need to be creative in how we go forward. We need to be clever, and we are smarter than them. If you read Project 2025 and all the people and organizations that they had to come together to do this, it took that many people. Read them. I bet you could put about a dozen folks, just like me, in a room, and we could come up with something way better. Way more succinct and way more plausible and way more easy to digest. Because we don't have an agenda. When somebody has an agenda, don't you notice they wrap it in the trappings of all this grandiosity? Like that, all these words and all of this highfalutin speech and this manifesto, if you will. When it boils down to what I said, two things, white power. So, think on those things. You know, I know we could all sit here and be mad at Merrick Garland that he didn't get on the ball quick enough. And I think he saw the tea leaves. I really do. I mean, we've got seditionists sitting in our house, people. That rubs me the wrong way. We all saw it. We know they did what they did. And they are still sitting in our house. And there, in the beginning, when he came in, I was like, okay, he just got here. Lots to catch up on. It's been a lot of crap. Time passes and nothing's happening. And I'm like, well, it is the government. You know, they don't bring a case unless all those I's are dotted and T's are crossed. They're not going to bring a bad case. You know, they got to get this right. And time goes on. And I'm not jumping on a bandwagon, but I'm starting to get a little nervy like everybody else. Like, hey, what's going on? Now DOJ's real tight. It's worse than Fort Knox, but they are really tight. And I get that. But I was starting to get a little bit like, okay, this much time has gone by. You ain't got something? I mean, even if you had a grand jury indictment in front of them and they said it was no go, at least give us the carrot that you tried. Something. Anything. And then more time going on. People were hair on fire. Garland is terrible. And I was getting a little disappointed myself. But again, separate from the noise. I mean, I will admit, I was getting disappointed. I was getting kind of angry. But I wasn't totally giving up the ghost yet, you know. And I sat back and I thought about it, and I was watching how the trials and the delays and all of it, and I'm like, and SCOTUS with how they've been dropping those little bombs over the years, bit by bit by bit. And I sat back and I thought about it, and I thought, I bet it's already a done deal with the conservative, you know, they call them conservative, and I'm putting quotations around. They are not conservatives anymore. They've perverted that word from its original meaning. Edwin Burke, I think it was. Conservative is stability of the government. Conserve the stability of the government. Look at this shit show. Is that conserving the stability of the government? Oh, you're going to tear it down and rebuild it in your own, you know, holy image? Then that's not conserving anything. You're destroying. Again, not creating. Lincoln was a conservative. He wanted to conserve the stability of the government. That's why the Union can't split. We got Civil War, but Buchanan let that roll, kind of like Bush let the financial crisis. Oh, I didn't win, so it's going to, Obama can handle it. You see what they do. You know, Republicans always create the crisis for the Democrats to clean up. But Lincoln was a Republican. But that's the point. I'm giving you an example of look at the drastic mutation that word and what it stands for has come to. And I tell you what, I ever hear one more GOP utter, "We are the party of Lincoln," somebody needs to give them a smack upside the head. No, you are not. He would be rolling in his grave if he saw this nightmare that you people have done to their party. My pap was a GOP. He was a Republican. He didn't like Reagan either. He thought he was a clown. But again, people are beside the name. Go vote. No, anymore. R or D don't matter. It's Christo-fascism or democracy. Whose letter is beside it don't matter. I mean, well, it does matter, but like yours, walking in that booth to vote, or filling out your mail-in ballot, whether you are an R or a D does not matter. Blue, up and down. I explained why before. But I know everybody, I'm Andrew, so I know everybody kind of got mad at Merrick Garland, but even Elie Mystal made a point eventually. Like, I mean, he finally kind of hung his hat and realized too that no matter what, we could have brought the case the day after he got in the office, and with all the delays and all the meandering, it still would have had the same outcome. This was already, SCOTUS already had this in their head. Why do you think it took so long? And why do you think with Entala and mifepristone, those decisions, they didn't want Roe back on the ballot full on. They would have really taken that stuff and ripped it apart if they could have, but they know it's an election year. They're parsing it out because they're leaving it on the back burner for the next time. Women, don't let them have that. Don't give them that power. Don't. Remember these things. Put that out there in the world every day about Roe and them deliberately not deciding and kicking the can so they think they're keeping the peace, because you know what they want to do. They want to rip it up and take all of our rights away as women. Don't let them. They only have the power that we give them. They have no enforcement agency. None. Not one. Just the illusion that we've created with these norms again. You see? We've given them that power. SCOTUS. No, we need to take it back. So the reform of the courts must be number one. Because it's like you don't think the races in other states matter to you. Oh, yes, they do. Pay attention to your state, but pay attention to others. Wyoming has 700,000 people. They have 2 senators. California has tens of millions of people. They have 2 senators. Is that difference there? Both have 2 senators, but not the same population that they represent. That's a little unfair, and it's skewed. So you need to focus on those smaller states with lower populations because they have the same as us bigger states. And we got more people. It needs to be more population appropriate. So it is more reflective of the people rather than focusing on, that's how we got the minority people. That's how we got the minority trying to rule the majority. So that's why you pay attention to those states. There is no red state, there is no blue state. Any state can be flipped. Any state. You have to reach them where they are. Even in those smaller states. That's why it's good to pay attention to those races, because even though the ones that we elect for our state, they work for us and that works for us. They all vote on things that affect everybody across this country. Yeah, they matter. Because them saying yay or nay affects you too at the end of the day. These are things you have to keep out there for people to get engaged on. You know? There's a way to do this, but we gotta be creative. We gotta be clever. We gotta be smarter. We've gotta push it every single day. Hey, we want to Project 2025 media. What are you doing? What about this line? What about this? What about that? What about SCOTUS? What about this? What about that? What about, what are we going to do at the end of this tunnel if we do get there? We need to think on these things. We need to have these ideas. We need to bring this creativity out. And we need to take up the oxygen. We need to take it back. Don't let them have it. This is how you flip the script, people. This is how you push back when you call their bluff. Again, they have really loud bullhorns, megaphones. They are the minority. But those ghouls have weaseled their way in while we weren't paying attention. Just out living our lives, doing our thing. But democracy is work. You can't sit back on your heels about it. It's messy, it's complicated, but you have to be engaged and you have to be involved. And that is where we are. And that's why races matter. And we need to look at being more fair on a federal level. Well, not just a federal level, a nationwide level about money and politics. Other countries, do you know what they do? Some have a cap on what you can spend on your campaign. That's the same for everybody. You got millionaires coming in that are getting pushed into running for races to, back that agenda, buying up all the media and just choking out the little guy who's just trying to do right by their where they live. There's genuinely good people out there trying to run. They can't go up against a monstrosity of money who comes on in, like some white knight. Oh, I got money, that makes me special. When did we start treating the rich like they were something to emulate? We can all go want to attain better in our lives and make that money, why do you remember when we used to make fun of the rich and how gaudy and, grandiose and just, over, too much, uber, like, ew. Now we elevate them? If that's what you want to do to go through your life and make a ton of money, more power to you. I'm not stopping you. I'm not judging. Again, not how you react, how you respond, how you display that. Some of it's just tacky. How much is enough? Stuff is just stuff. Don't elevate that. But they come in and they swoop in and they choke out the little guy. the person who could be a true public servant. Other countries have a cap. We need that across the board, nationwide. That's another thing you need to put out there. How about this? Voting. Every place has a different way. I know. States' rights. States' rights. Guess what? The ones who are saying states' rights are the ones suppressing the vote. Not about representing. They want to rule. Because if there was uniformity across the plane, all the way up and down, they wouldn't have anything to complain about, would they? They couldn't vote or suppress as much. They'll try. Oh, they're clever like that. But you see what I'm saying? They couldn't go, oh, voter fraud, voter fraud, voter fraud. Because it's all one. It's all uniform. One system for everything. Then they couldn't scream that, as they do now, without any proof or any evidence. I will give you a study. I think it was from 1982 to, again, approximate, I think it was 2021 or 2023. 8 billion votes. 8 billion votes. Approximate. You know how much voter fraud there was in 40 years? Like 1,100 and some. Out of 8 billion votes. People vote twice. People purposely, usually the ones screaming voter fraud are usually the ones committing the voter fraud. Election interference, screamed the right in the GOP last few years. Look who was interfering with elections. They were. Put that out there every day. Call them on it. Get the facts. Put it out there. And if we had that uniformity, they don't have nothing to complain about, like immigration. They tanked their own bill. The bill they wanted, the bill they worked for. The one package they were going to get. Trump said, no, don't do it. I want something to run on. They don't want to fix it. These people, again, they're doing the break-in. We could fix these problems. They don't want to fix the problems because then they have nothing to complain about. Put it out there every single day. Every day. That's one thing you don't hear about, really. I mean, I don't know about Fox and Onan and Newsmax and all that Yahoo News. Stuff like that. It's an echo chamber. What is that? Echo chamber? Information silo or something like that. Whatever the language is. It ain't right. I will admit, back in the day when Fox first started, I used to watch it because you know who I watched? It was really it. Shepard Smith. It was news. Gave you the news. Charismatic guy. Liked watching him. Good old Southern boy, I liked watching him, so I would listen to him in the afternoon. I had a broke leg anyway. I wasn't doing nothing. So I watched Shepard Smith. He'd give you the news for a couple hours. Boom. That was about the extent of it. My partner at the time watched it. The opinion shows, but Fox is not news. It's an entertainment channel, as are all the rest of them. They're not reporting truth. They're reporting their agenda. Again, created media, created news. They slant. Don't. AP, Reuters. I've only seen one thing with AP. And it's been some time. That had a slant to it. 9 times out of 10, it's pretty solid stuff. That's what I'm saying. Go find those sources and throw these things out there. Throw it out into the world. Push back. All this stuff. That's what we should be doing. Listing all DJT's faults, all the Project 2012 and the Heritage Foundation and all the GOP's faults and everything they've done wrong. But you don't hear about immigration anymore, do you? And now that they've seen what's happening, who would have come here? So they can complain on that. We could have fixed it a long time ago. Many administrations have tried. They don't want to fix it. because then they don't have something to complain about. They don't want to represent people, they want to rule. Keep those things in mind. I'm just throwing some ideas out there. You come up with your own. Go look into things that rub you the wrong way, or you don't maybe know a lot of information about. Ask somebody. Throw a comment. If I got it, I'll get it to. I'll answer you. If I don't know, I will tell you, and I will go find your answer. I mean, I'm not all wise or anything. I don't know everything, but if I have some basic knowledge, I tell that to my clients all the time. If I know something, I'll answer you. I give my folks as much information I can so they can go forward informed and make better choices for themselves. Because the systems are so convoluted in this maze of just crazy that I want people to feel like that they have some agency in that mess. I work in it. The world is full of it. And that's another thing we need to get back to. We need to simplify things. We need to just restructure a lot. We need to push for that universal health care. We need to push for the child care. We need to push for the stuff for kids and the education. The cheapen, make education at a higher level more affordable for people like it used to be. I mean, or push the trade schools and apprenticeships and things like that, real world jobs as far as labor and whatnot. That we need people to do that, and those are very specialized things. Yeah, I mean, we need to stop putting these negative connotations. So you a welder. Hey, they make bank. But you gotta know what you're doing. Electricians, people working on renewable energy. These are all things we need to push out in the world every day. Flip the script. Take back the oxygen. Take back the power. Call the bullies bluff. Like I said, not in a physical or confrontational way. You can insult somebody in such a way when you're talking to them, they don't know they're being insulted until they walk away and they think about it. Be snarky like that. Take that snark to another level. That's all I'm saying. So, I just wanted to throw some ideas and some things out there for everybody. Bring it back a little bit and say, hey, these are things we need to do every single day. You don't do social media? Get on the phone. Find your politician. Find your local, your state, your federal. You call them. Get a list. Things you want to talk about. Bring it to their attention. Hey, quit jumping ship. Get a spine about you. Call them out. Those who are, wobbling or on the fence or just totally going spineless. Call them out. Dems need to learn a lesson too. If you ain't going to be on the side of right, then get off the boat. Go somewhere else. And sit down and shush. That's again, constructive criticism. Fine. We can have these discussions. But not when you're creating the problem. Then I don't want to hear you. You're going to create a problem? You're going to muddy the water for whatever reason that you have? No. You push back against them too. Say, what are you doing? Where's your head? Get straight. Give me your reasoning for not wanting to back our president. A straight answer. Not some doublespeak, not some garbage, not some BS. Not that politician talk. Seriously, people push it. Call the bluff on the media. Call the bluff on the right. Every time they throw it out, hit them with facts. Titus has a great phrase. Fact me or fuck off. So, fact them. Fact them every time. Throw that link. Not some snippet of some opinion. Throw that Throw that actual that data, that documentation, throw it at them every single day. We gotta take it back, folks. We can do it. These are some things to think about. I brought up some situations, we need to work on. But this is part of the problems that we have, is we have been lulled, like SCOTUS. They have power. No, they don't. L.M. Stahl, in his book, Black Guy's Guide to the Constitution, made a very valid point. I'm paraphrasing. SCOTUS's job is to see if a law is valid. Does it conflict with other laws that we have? Is it constitutional? That's their only job. That's their only job. Is the law valid? Is it constitutional? Is it valid? They have given themselves such immense power, and we take that word supreme and we conflate it even more and put them in an ivory tower. No. Put them back on the ground where they belong. Take their budget. Take their building. Take their staff. Make them work. Legislators. It's not cruel. Hey, they can still be. How much they really want to be SCOTUS? I'm just making a point. These are things. That's extreme, but that can be done. But we got to get that majority. And I'm not talking about 2 or 5. We need a big majority in Congress to get it done. One that there cannot be pushback. So we can get this stuff through. Or else we're going to do it all again in a couple of years. So, take these ideas, take these thoughts, look into things. If you see something wonky that don't sit right with you, look into it more. Think about how everything connects. And if you go back, reverse engineering, think about A to B to C, how do we got places? How some of these entities got really too big for their britches. Like SCOTUS. And the courts need to be on the ballot, folks. It's not just Project 2025, it's the courts. Because you got the federal court, Lutheran Cone. We'll go into this on another thing, but I've been reading this section in Dahlia Lithwick's book about, the self-policing. That's another thing we need to stop with. They ain't policing themselves for shit. The Fed, the federal bench, law enforcement, SCOTUS, even our own Congress. Seditionists sit in our house, but it takes them voting to get them out. They're not going to shoot themselves in the foot. They can't get the votes. We need to have independent, outside, nonpartisan agencies to oversee ethical concerns like that. Absolutely, because there's this cone of silence around these agencies and these institutions. And they self-police. That's another problem we have. Why we have so much seeming corruption. Or they let the circus in the door. You can vote them out. Well, then once you get them in, incumbency. It's really hard when they're crazy. MTG and Bobert and all those circus freaks. They get in. Oh, it's just like pulling teeth to get them out. But we have to do it. That's what I'm saying. We can do it. We have to do it. That's why it's important to pay attention to other areas and help support those who we can elevate. It's very important. So, these are things to keep in mind. And I'm reading that, and that, like I said, that cone of silence, that self-policing. These are things that need fixing. And this is another example of how we got to this place. Because so much of it lacks transparency. It lacks transparency. Sorry, it's late and I'm tired. And I'm talking too fast, cluttering. But I mean, we've just dropped the ball because it's just been so. It's not out in the public sphere, and we don't know. And the federal courts, I blame Mitch McConnell, who needs to go, retire, go home. We don't want you anymore either. He really ruined the courts. Him and, well, Donald Trump. They pushed back on Obama with the federal judges putting him in because, oh, we're not going to let him. And then we got the three. I feel very, very strongly that they are illegitimate. They shouldn't have been there. And those are things we have to fix. There's something, it cannot just be the Senate. I think the people need to make the call. They say, oh no, that can be dicey. You know what? People aren't as dumb as you think. But they want to treat us like children. You want to be treated like a child? We grown. If you want to be taken seriously, give them a reason to take you seriously. So, with that, I'm going to turn it over. Take the night off. And just think about what I said. Find creative ways. Get other people involved. Get ideas. Put them out there. Push back on these things. All of them. Every single day. Put it on your socials. Talk to people about them. I talked to multiple people today about Project 2025, and I started a podcast. Just put it out there. You know, there's scary stuff coming, but we still have the keys, folks. We still have the keys. We don't have them yet. Don't give them to the bully. Bully comes at you. You come back at them. They get offended? So what? When? They're cowards anyway. All bullies are a coward underneath. I know that one personally. I was just a little girl. And we had a school bully. And I was so afraid of my folks that I would get in trouble if I fought. And I knew how to fight. I was more afraid of them. I would go home and get in trouble or get expelled. So I didn't fight back because I didn't want a whooping at home. Because those whoopings weren't nice. Until I came home one day and my clothes were torn. And and it was it. We didn't have a lot of money, and I know they really scraped to get me this nice dress from my school picture. And he ripped my dress up. And it was one of the nicer dresses I had. I think it was the only dress I had. And my mother was very mad and said, if he puts hands on you again, you defend yourself. Not too long later he did, and I defended myself. They tried to expel me, but I was defending myself. Like I said, brass knuckles. I didn't have brass knuckles, but I had a metal trash can lid right there. He was twice my size. I was in the 3rd grade. I'm just using an example. That's not a good one, but to bring around the point, don't be bullied. I was always bullied in school. Like I said, redhead. I always have somebody else trying to be like they were better than you, especially when they're poor and they called you names. They had a name for us, specifically. No. They push you push them back. Called a bluff. Biden should do that too. He should be out there calling their bluff every day. That's another thing. You push Biden about SCOTUS, Project 2025, what he's going to do to fix this mess. He need to talk about it every day. You need to push that administration and the surrogates to talk about it every single day. Push him. He needs to push back too. Everybody stop being tired of who you offend. That rule book's out the door. You can still have decorum. You can still have your basic normalcy. You don't gotta be disrespectful. Like I said, raise that snark to another level. You can do it. It can be done. You just gotta be clever. You gotta be creative. Again, take your skill. Use it. Use social media to your to the positive. It can be negative. We see a lot of that. No. Flip the script, people. It doesn't rule you, you rule it. Because there are a lot of other people out there that 4-letter word, they really, really want to institute. Yeah, we have representation now, but they truly do want to rule. And they've shown their hand. So let's take that power back, shall we? Like the UK and France. More next. So you guys have a good night. Take care. And keep cool tomorrow. It's going to be hot out there. Peace out, y'all.